It is time for the return every single week at 8:40 of Dallas Cowboys color analyst Babe Laufenberg on the D&M Leasing Hotline. Good morning, man. How you been?
I've been great. It's like the prodigal son returns, right?
Yes, that's right.
And I'll be on RJ and Sean, Bobby. I had to be honest with you. I had to look at my calendar this morning because it sure as hell felt like Christmas to me, getting to talk to you guys again.
Oh,
okay,
nice,
I thought, is it December 25th?
What did you do during the off season? Like top 2 or 3 things that jumped out in the Babe off season.
Well, there's really only one thing that jumped out, but it jumped out like 3 or 4 times. I went to Montana with my son. My son lives in Denver now, my older son, and we took a trip to a lodge in Montana, fly fishing, and we did a couple trips to Colorado, of course, where he lives. So really that was it. Didn't have any fancy, go to the Amalfi Coast or something like that, which the rich people do. We just, we get a little cabin, put up a tent, we fish.
Have you added anybody to your weekly Jason Garrett and Troy Aikman lunches?
No, but Jason's about to get the boot. I'm not going to lie to you.
Why?
I'm not going to lie to you. Yeah, he just doesn't show up. I always say, number one thing in life, show up. He'll be in Kansas City tonight for the KC Baltimore game, but he'll be in. He'll be in. I can't wait for Dak to retire, so we can bring him into the fold.
Okay. The invitation is just extended. Just like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so my trivia. You guys ready for your trivia?
Oh, trivia is back.
Yeah, baby.
Ready to see how you gamed
trivia
it for
is
Peyton.
back. We got to get Peyton to do a little drum roll, or we have to have some kind of intro to the trivia. But here we go. So Nick Chubb, we know he's not playing, got the knee injury and all, and it's a good thing he's not. He has the second highest yards per attempt by a running back. He's a 5.3. Only one running back in NFL history has a higher yards per attempt. That man is
Jim Brown.
Bobby's going to get this. Jim Brown is right behind him at number 3.
Okay, so this is Raheem Mostert.
That'd be kind of a good guess, but no.
Marion Motley.
That'd be a good guess, but no, he wasn't.
Jim Taylor.
Leroy Kelly.
Come on. University of Texas.
Texas.
Earl.
Is it Earl?
Not Earl.
No.
Not Cedric, not
Let's
Ricky.
see if Peyton can get it.
Chris
Let's see if
Sims.
Peyton can get it.
We got to think of elite running backs here, guys. That would be Jamal Charles.
Damn it. They're playing the Browns. I'm very disappointed. I would have expected a Sam Rutigliano or a Brian Sipe answer from you. Very disappointed.
Well, so Peyton on the board early, 1-0-0-0. But that segues us to the run defense. And you've been talking about this for years, and you've been right about it for years. How do you feel about this year's Mike Zimmer version of the Cowboys run D?
Well, the way I talk about it is I'm really more concerned with stopping the pass and stopping the run. But obviously, that's been a focus here. And I found it very interesting that in training camp, I've never seen this many veteran players in the front 7 or any position for that matter, be acquired after training camp started, guys who were just out there. And they clearly weren't content with what they had because they kept bringing in these guys. And now, of course, Linval Joseph, 35 years old, he's going to be in the thing. But here's my thing. Why are we so focused on stopping the run? They don't pay running backs, do they? The NFL has deemed them to be non-factors, right? They pay receivers. Let's stop those guys. So that's where my focus is always.
Really?
Stop the pass.
Yeah, stop the pass more important, but I don't think that the non-paying of the running backs mean that the running game is meaningless. It's just the way that they believe the running game can be achieved. I mean, against San Francisco and tougher and more physical teams, and last year and Aaron Jones, the game can still be controlled by it at times.
At times, but hey, you look at San Francisco. Christian McCaffrey, in the last 3 games, he wasn't here for the first one, the first playoff game at AT&T Stadium. He's averaged 3 yards a carry, and his long run in the 2 games is 8 yards. So the running game hasn't beat him against San Francisco. They don't score points when they played San Francisco. That's been their problem. But the running game, and I know Aaron Jones tore him up, but look what Jordan Love did to him.
Yeah.
I mean, all the big plays they had in the passing game. That's
okay.
You know, Green Bay had their way either way. You know how they say make them one-dimensional? They couldn't stop either dimension.
Okay, fair. So I'll then kind of reverse it. Are we overreacting and freaking out too much to the Cowboys having what we think will be the worst running game in years going back to Zeke?
No, because I will say that puts a lot of pressure on your passing game. You got to be able to run just enough, to me. Hey, Kansas City, you look at they haven't been a great rushing team. You look at the teams that won the Super Bowl, the Rams, and they weren't really necessarily great rushing teams with the great backs. But, you know, the quarterbacks are winning the Super Bowls, right? I mean, the quarterbacks are winning. The days of John Riggins carrying it 40 times and leading Washington to a Super Bowl win, they're over. So they pay the quarterbacks, they pay the receivers, so we need to try to stop those guys, right? Matter of fact, going through the NFC, Matthew Stafford is the only quarterback in the NFC who has won a Super Bowl.
Wow.
So your path in the NFC is certainly a lot easier than going through the quarterbacks in the AFC.
Babe Laufenberg join us here, 105.3 The Fan. All right, you're a quarterback. Let's evaluate Deshaun Watson. Like, is he going to resurrect his career? Were you able to watch tape of him before the injury last year? What's his issue?
Yeah, you know what's funny, RJ? When we have a little text, you and me and Sean, about, hey, what do you want to hit? you mentioned Deshaun Watson resurrecting his career. So I was racking my brain. I even called a couple buddies or texted them and said, hey, so you're trying to think of that guy. I mean, Kurt Warner, to an extent, he went to the Giants and was terrible. And I thought, oh, his career's over. And then he goes to Arizona and takes him to a Super Bowl. Warren Moon had a little bit of a down time in there. I mean, nobody would remember, but you go all the way back to Jim Plunkett. He got beat up in New England. He goes to the Raiders as an older guy, and he wins 2 Super Bowls there. So I don't know what to make of Deshaun Watson. I loved him. I loved him at Clemson. I loved him coming out. I loved him at Houston. You know, he's only played 12 games in the last 3 years. I think that's a big part of the guy just hasn't played.
Mm-hmm.
He was suspended for part of it. He's been hurt. So, you know, to me, he's going to be a dangerous guy. But, yeah, can he get his career back on track? I don't know. I'll say this. With that defense, you don't need to score a lot of points.
Babe, do you see the Cowboys being about the same as last year, a chance to actually be better, or a decline?
I don't see him. They're not as good as the team that was down 27-0 to the Packers in the second quarter.
Uh-oh.
I mean, on paper, right, they're not as good as they were last year. Now, that doesn't mean that Cooper Beebe doesn't become a better center than Tyler Biadasz. That doesn't mean that Tyler Guyton doesn't play better than Tyron Smith, although that would be a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
But no, they've lost a lot. I mean, we've all seen it, right? You don't need to be a football expert to know they lost guys, and they didn't really get them replay. Eric Kendricks is your big signing, and I love him. Great player, older player, but they just did not replace the running game. I can't imagine it being great. Rico Dowdle's going to be interesting because we don't have a big sample size on him. So maybe he comes in and maybe he's Jamal Charles and he averages 5.4 carry. But, again, on paper going in, they're not as good as a team that was put together last year.
What else do we need to know about Cleveland? We rely on you for the X's and O's and the preview and the film study. What else is jumping out to you about the Browns?
They're 2 corners, Martin Emerson, Denzel Ward. I mean, you want to talk, you don't have shutdown corners anymore, really, because of the rules, but these are shutdown corners. They didn't allow a touchdown. If you go by Pro Football Focus, they didn't allow a touchdown last year, either of them. And the funny thing is, Cleveland, you guys may have touched on this, but their defense, number 1 in the NFL last year, number 1 pass defense, number 1 on third down, which to me is a really important stat because, you're getting teams off the field. They were top of the list. And, I mean, when you look at the numbers, you got to go back to, like, the 2009 Jets to match the numbers that Cleveland put up last year. But at home, they're a totally different defense than they are on the road, and I couldn't tell you why. But they gave up 14 points a game last year at home. That was the best in the NFL. They gave up 31 points a game on the road. That was last in the NFL.
Wow.
So at home, they were the best defense in the NFL, points-wise. On the road, they were the worst. One problem, they're playing in Cleveland. So you don't get the road Cleveland team.
Babe, Jerry gave an interview with Stephen A. Smith yesterday where he talked about the Dak and McCarthy work that they've done together last year and how much confidence that gives him. Heading into year 2 here, what are your expectations for that combination?
Well, I think it only gets better. I always look at that play caller and quarterback the way you do a pitcher and catcher, where that catcher flashes a sign, right, and that pitcher says, boom, it's exactly what I was thinking. So that quarterback play caller relationship has to kind of be the same, in my opinion, where that play comes into Dak's helmet and he said, man, just what I wanted. And I know they talk about things during the week and all that, but I've seen it where you're like, really, we called that? So, and we talk about year 2 in this offense, or with Mike as a play caller. I almost look at it as year 1.5, because it was a different offense after week 6 last year. They had the first 6 games. They ran about 48 5-yard hooks a game, and they came back after the bye, and it turned back to the offense a little more than it was, and that's when the offense improved, started scoring points, bigger plays. And I don't know if Dak had to come to Mike's meeting with Coach McCarthy, but it changed after week 6. It just did. We all saw it. And but again, should be better just by the fact that they've worked together now. And we'll see.
Great to have you back. Looking forward to it again, and have a fantastic trip to Cleveland.
Thank you. And I got one quick one for you here, because I think you'll like it. Since 2010, the Cowboys are 6-1 against the New York Giants in openers. And it seems like they play the Giants every other year, and they do in the opener. They're 0-7 against everyone not named the New York Giants.
See,
they have not beaten a team since 2010 that was not the New York Giants in the opener. So here we go.